Welcome to Extraordinary with Kimberly Joy. I am going live in studio at Milwaukee Media Group, and we're not live on the air yet, but I'm live with all of you on social media, and I want to make sure that you know what I'm doing out here. It's a wonderful opportunity to share the message of extraordinary living on Joy 1340 in Milwaukee. You can listen on joy1340.com. You can listen on Joy 1340 or on Joy 98.7. I need my mic, so I'm so glad Justin has not hit record. Thank you, Justin.
No problem.
You know, there are times when you just forget a little something, and that little something's a big something. So how does this look? Is this good?
That's good.
Okay, all right. Well, for those of you lovely people bearing with me live on socials, thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today about the Next Partner series. Today's talk is about relationships. If you want to understand how important relationships are to taking dominion in your life, stay tuned. I'm just going to give you a disclaimer. This could be a part one of relationships, which is part two of another series. We're going to take as much time as we need to delve into these vital topics for extraordinary living. And with that, I'm going to cue the producer. Welcome to Extraordinary with Kimberly Joy. I'm your host. Thank you for listening. Today, we are going back down the road of the 8 keys to exercising dominion over your faith, family, and business. Another way of saying that is 8 keys for walking in the power and authority God has given you. 8 keys for making sure your container, your life, your mind, your emotions, your spirit can handle the power that God wants to give you so that you can take dominion and have victory over all areas of life. We're talking about how to do this in our faith, family, and business specifically because that's the mission of the Fellowship of Extraordinary Women, who also happens to be the sponsor of the show Extraordinary. So thank you to Few, and thank you to all of you who are such a vital part of that network of divine daughters that are carrying out our divine destiny. So let's get right to it today. Why are relationships one of the 8 keys to taking dominion over your life? Well, relationships is where everything happens. Whether you're talking about your faith life, relationships are key. Whether you're talking about your family life, your friendships, obviously those relationships can have a direct and immeasurable impact on your quality of life. And also in business. Business is another whole set and series of relationships. I believe it's Stephen Covey who says business happens at the speed of trust. Trust is a foundational stone in relationship. I don't have to tell you why relationship is so important to family and friendship. How is it important to faith? Well, your faith life cannot be lived alone any more than your family life can be lived alone. We were not made to be islands unto ourselves. And Jesus modeled this by giving us the model of discipleship. Discipleship is relationship. Church is relationship. The kingdom is relationship. Some say if you look at the cross, there's a vertical part of the cross and there's a horizontal part of the cross. And some say that vertical part of the cross represents our relationship with God, and that horizontal part of the cross represents our relationship with people. Jesus said the whole law could be summed up with 2 commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's that vertical part of the cross. And love your neighbor as yourself. That's the horizontal. So to think that our faith life might not be as impacted by relationship as maybe other parts of our life is really, it's a misnomer. So with that, let's talk about why relationships are so key to taking dominion. I'm just going to kick off with a phrase that the Bible describes and describes as a trap. And this phrase describes one of the most important factors in our relationships that could show us that our alignment is off or our alignment is on. And here is the phrase: fear of man. Fear of man. That's how the Bible describes it. And in the book of Proverbs, it says, the fear of man brings a snare, but those who trust in the Lord will be kept safe. Some versions say the fear of man is a snare, but those who trust in the Lord will be set in a high and lofty place, meaning up and away from danger. So, what is fear of man? In our words or vernacular, you could call it people pleasing, approval addiction, caring what everybody thinks. Another way that fear of man looks is not wanting to upset someone, where we're editing the truth and we're holding back our true feelings for fear of upsetting someone. We're not telling someone the whole story because we're afraid of their reaction or we're afraid of their rejection. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, relationships are riddled with fear of man. Codependency is another way that we can describe fear of man. Have you ever made that correlation before? I'm sure most of us have heard the term codependent. It's where we are living our lives based on how someone else is living their life. Our life is dependent upon their life. If they mess things up, we fix it. If they create a problem, we solve it. If they're upset, we calm them down. If they're sad, we make them happy. If they're feeling insecure, we try to make them feel secure. I could make a list. If we think they think badly of us, this is a biggie. We get on the defense and we try to make sure they think good of us, that they see, no, you're misjudging me. You're accusing me of things that aren't true. If you saw my heart, you wouldn't say such things. And so we go on a PR campaign to convince people we're good when they're saying we're bad. This is fear of man. This is codependency. This is approval addiction. This is bondage. It's bondage, in case you couldn't hear me on the radio as I whispered. It's bondage. It's bondage to live our lives worrying about and working for other people's approval, other people's peace, other people's level of fulfillment, other people's satisfaction with us. Now, do we have responsibility in relationship for how we make others feel? Absolutely. Absolutely. But when fear of man or approval addiction or people pleasing is involved, we're not just there being responsible parties. We could be there being over responsible parties. So, in other words, instead of focusing on my side of the street and doing what's right, I've crossed over to their side of the street and I'm trying to clean up what they've got going on so that there won't be another mess with them. Mamas, we do this with our children. I don't want them to feel pain and discomfort and struggle. So I'm going to jump in and save the day. It's called helicoptering. We do this sometimes with our parents. I talk to so many women and have over the years throughout the course of how I help women who struggle so much with relationships because from an early age they felt responsible for their mother's emotions or their father's emotions. And at a young, impressionable age, they made it their job to console, comfort, or run interference for a parent. This unfortunately followed them into their adult life, and they're playing that role in many relationships in their life, and it's to their detriment because it's called over responsibility. There is a certain amount of stuff we can't do for somebody else. We cannot be in charge of someone else's happiness. Our job is not to make someone happy. Let me share with you the most powerful definition of love that will apply to your children, your spouse, your friends, your clients, and the world at large. Okay, are you ready? Love is not doing what feels best for someone else. Love does what is best for someone else. So, the question I would pose to you today about your relationships, and if you want to be super brave, you want to be super emboldened to take dominion in your life, to take back control from all the places you feel like you have none. If you want to feel like you have some personal power over things instead of feeling powerless at the hands of others, if that's you and you're like, I'm so done feeling powerless and defeated, and like no matter what I do, it isn't good enough, and this relationship never gets better no matter how hard I try, then I have a challenge for you today. Really, I'm going to tell this to you that it's a challenge, but it's a gift. It's a gift God gave me, and I'm going to give this gift to you. Here's the gift. Inventory and assess all of your relationships in the next couple of days. And ask yourself, which relationships am I doing what is best for the person? And in which relationships am I doing what feels best for the person? Because where you're doing what is best is healthy and loving, and where you're doing what feels best is unhealthy, and it is not the purest form of love. It's actually a selfish form of love. What, Kimberly? You are calling me selfish? Listen, I promise you, the only way I can say that so boldly is because I only loved people with a selfish love for a very long time. My love was, you do what feels best for me, and I'll do what feels best for you. And this form of love is like a freight train that runs right into a dumpster fire. Like it derails, and instead of just derailing this train, it runs into a dumpster fire. It's the ultimate catastrophe to try to be in a relationship where both people's role is to make the other feel good. Oh, you guys, so many things make us feel good, and they're not good for us. Somebody not telling us the truth when it would help us grow and change and take responsibility, not good. Somebody giving us whatever we want so that we stay happy, not good. And vice versa, us doing that for other people, not good. So when I say there's a selfish form of love, a worldly form of love that will not help you to exercise dominion over your life, that's what I'm talking about. The people-pleasing, approval addiction, bowing to somebody else's wants, needs, desires, opinions, manipulations. I haven't even said the M word yet, and we only have 13 minutes left here. The M word, manipulation. Listen, if you know you're being manipulated and you're playing along with it, you're going along with it, you're allowing it to work on you, you are not loving the way Jesus told us to love. Love says, I realize what you're doing, and I'm not going to let it work. I won't be guilted. I won't be tricked. I won't be coerced. I won't be talked into. I won't be slowly and silently bullied. That's manipulation. And when someone's doing those things with a desired end in mind, and that end is that you're going to do this my way, you're not in a relationship that is going to advance you. You're in a relationship that's going to chip away at you. That's going to chip away at your emotions. It's going to chip away at your mind, your thoughts. In fact, relationships that are riddled with control and manipulation literally take so much real estate in our brains, because I promise you, I've been there. I'm sitting here thinking about what I could have done differently for this thing not to have backfired on me, and what could I have done differently to not have this person absolutely blow their cork at me, and what could I have done differently to make this person more at peace with me. And you know what? Those are the wrong questions. The question we should be asking is, have I been loving this person in a way that is best for them or a way that feels best for them? Because can I tell you that if you've been doing it in a way that feels best for them, they become entitled to you making them feel good. And it's not your job to make people feel good. It's your job to do right by them and right by the Lord. And sometimes doing right by people doesn't feel good for either one of you. I want you to just think about the things Jesus had to say to his disciples. Was he just sitting there making them feel good? I mean, he called them slow. He told them, asked them questions like, how long must I be with you before you get this? He said to Peter, his leader, the leader of the 12, get thee behind me, Satan. And he rebuked him because Peter was operating in his flesh. And he didn't understand yet the difference between operating in the flesh and operating in the spirit. So Jesus gave him a crash course when he said, get thee behind me, Satan. He spoke to the demonic forces and then he corrected Peter. Go look it up. He was not out there making Peter feel good. He told them bad news that was coming. This is what's going to happen, and it's not going to be good. He even told Peter, you're going to deny me before the crow does his thing 3 times. You're going to deny me 3 times. You're going to make some bad decisions in the coming days. Peter, you're telling me what I want to hear, but I'm out here telling you, you're wrong. You're wrong. Here's the truth about what's in your heart. And Jesus was Jesus, so he could see intrinsically what was in Peter's heart. We can't do that. We might see something, but not all the things. We have to be cautious. But guess what the Bible tells us? You know a tree by its fruit. And if somebody's words have been nothing but words in your life, and the fruit isn't there, or the fruit is rotten, what do I mean by that? The words and the actions do not line up. The words say one thing, and the actions say the opposite. This is someone producing bad fruit in their life, and now it's impacting your life. And the loving thing to do is say, you know what? Your words are just what I want to hear, but unfortunately, your words have not produced fruit in our relationship. Your words and actions don't align. Therefore, the trust has been destroyed. This is a loving thing to say to someone if you're saying and doing what is best for them, for you, and for the relationship. Sometimes this gets very sticky because of how close the person is to you. It's even more sticky when you love them and you want the relationship to work. But I want to teach you a saying that a mentor of mine, a mother figure, taught me that she heard. And so I'm going to credit the original person who I'm quoting, and that's Pastor Stuart Briscoe, who has since gone on to be with the Lord, a wise man, a Bible teacher, international speaker and Bible teacher. This is the saying that he said, it only takes one to forgive, but it takes 2 to reconcile. It only takes one to forgive, but it takes 2 to reconcile. If you are out there trying to reconcile and make things right all by yourself, you will not achieve reconciliation. See, guys, I feel like I'm dropping some bombs on you today, and some of you are getting bad news about relationships, but I am doing this because I love you and care about you. If you belong to the Lord, He loves you. He cares about you. And these relationships where it takes 2 for this thing to work and only one person's working on it, the Lord knows what that's doing to you. The Lord knows what is happening to your emotions, how your thoughts, and you feel twisted up like a Bavarian pretzel. And the Lord is telling you today, there's some truth that will set you free. You're not taking dominion over the relationship when you keep going around the same mountain, doing the same things, but expecting a different result. That's not dominion. That's powerlessness. That's not walking in authority over your own life. Now, here's the hard thing. This is the hardest thing about this relationship thing, and I have gone through it with people I love and care for so much. You cannot walk in authority over your mind, your heart, your energy, your thoughts, your choices when you are trying to make someone else feel good, because you're doing that, and you will do that at your own expense. And the outcome of that will be the other person feeling entitled to you continuing to make them feel happy, good, at peace, comforted, thought of, secure. Just fill in the blank. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's physical, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's mental. Whatever it is that you're feeding that person and pouring into that person, they're going to come to expect you to keep on pouring. You know how you can test that? I'm going to give you some solid wisdom. If you have a relationship where you've, for the most part, been a yes man to someone else, I'm going to walk on the eggshells to keep them calm. I'm going to zip my lip to not upset them. I'm going to go along with their plan, because when we try to do things my way, it's too much kicking and screaming. I'm going to just give them the money, because if I don't give them the money, I hear about it. I pay for it. I'd rather pay the money than pay the price of what comes when I don't give them the money. Okay, if any of the above resonates with you and you're like, she's been watching me, she's reading my life. Okay, if that's you, here's what I want you to do to test that. Say no where you have formerly said yes, and see what happens. This is so profound. Say no. I'm not just going to sit here and listen to you do blank to me. Or no, I'm not going to come and rescue you. Or no, I can't help you right now. Just even not right now. It might be somebody who expects you to be at their beck and call. You know what? I'm happy to listen later. I have 17 things to do in the next 3 hours. I'll give you a call after dinner, and you'll find out if this person cares about what you need at all, or if they only care about what they need. You will find out when you start to say no where you used to always say yes, what kind of relationship you have. This is hard information to come by. It is difficult. It is painful to say, oh my goodness, Lord, this relationship isn't at all what I thought it was. And the first thing you have to do at that moment is not blame someone. It's look in the mirror. With anything with the Lord, he's going to talk to you about you first before he's going to talk about anybody else. So the first thing to do is to say, what role have I played in this relationship to bring it to this point? How does a train go off 2 tracks? A relationship is like a train with 2 tracks, you and the other person. You and the other person. Have you ever seen the movie Unstoppable with Denzel Washington, where this train has lost its brakes and it's on its way to a small town through several other towns where it is going to derail? It's picking up speed and just disaster is imminent. Okay. Well, they figure out how to somewhat slow it down when it's coming around this incredibly sharp curve that's up high on tracks, that's elevated above a town, And underneath those tracks and all around those tracks are homes and businesses. And they're sure if they don't act now, this train is going off the tracks when it takes this curve. Just a nail biter, you guys. Well, what's crazy is it leans so hard, but it stays on the one track. It stays on the one track. Crazy. It's totally tipped. You're not breathing through the scene of the movie. This is kind of the picture of how so many of our relationships look. This train is leaning so hard and it's staying on one track, and you're the track that it's staying on. But this can't go on. This cannot go on. If you want to hear more about what to do if you're the one track, please join me again next week for the next episode of Extraordinary here on Joy 1340 and on all the channels that you can listen to a podcast. And I will help you with the very best information that I have. Thank you for joining me today. For those of you in the Milwaukee area, please join me next Tuesday, October 15th at Milwaukee Biz Starts for the launch of the Milwaukee Few chapter. 9:30 a.m. You can go to thefewwomen.com to register. I can't wait to see you there. For those of you joining me on live on social media, I'll put the link below. And you are invited in the Milwaukee area or surrounding areas. We also have a meeting this Friday morning in the Waukesha area. So Southeastern Wisconsin, you have two options now. Forever, we've been doing for 10 years, we've been doing Few Fridays in Waukesha. And beginning next Tuesday, October 15th, we're doing Few Tuesdays on the 10th anniversary of Few. I'm so excited. By the way, I'm talking about the 8 keys to taking dominion at both of these meetings. Why? Because we've got some dominion to take, my friends. Ladies, for those of you watching and listening, if we don't start taking dominion over our lives, we are going to be derailed, not just in relationship, but in our destinies. And we cannot afford that. No, ma'am. And no, sir, for those men who are watching or listening. I thank you so much for joining me today. Let's keep going on this journey to extraordinary because Jesus died for nothing less. I'll see you guys again next week. Bye for now.